All right, ready to dive deep today.
Oh,
We're going to be looking at the early life of Jesus.
Okay.
Specifically, 3 events that might seem familiar, but
right.
trust me, there's always more to uncover.
Yeah.
We're talking about the visit of the Magi, the escape to Egypt, and the return to Nazareth.
Right.
So pretty familiar stuff.
Yeah, these stories are condensed often into like quick snippets,
Right, exactly.
during Christmas, but they're packed with details that point to a much larger narrative.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So let's start with those mysterious visitors.
Okay.
The Magi.
Right.
Journeying from the east, following a star to find the newborn king of the Jews. It really makes you wonder what kind of star could lead people across such distances.
That's a question that has intrigued scholars for centuries.
Really?
Yeah, some believe it was a supernova, others a comet, or even a planetary alignment. Wow. Whatever its nature, the star served a very specific purpose: to guide these Gentile seekers to the birthplace of the Messiah.
It's interesting that they weren't Jewish, right?
Right.
It's like from the very beginning, there's this hint that Jesus' message wasn't just for one group of people.
Yeah, that's a crucial point.
Yeah.
The Magi, as foreigners, represent the universality of Jesus' mission. They were drawn by something beyond their own cultural or religious boundaries.
Okay, but let's talk about their gifts.
Okay.
Gold, frankincense, and myrrh.
Right.
Everyone knows that part, but what does it really tell us?
Yeah, the gifts are far more than just lavish presents. They're symbolic, almost like a prophecy in miniature.
Okay.
Gold, associated with royalty, points to Jesus' kingship.
Okay.
But this isn't the kind of king who sits on a throne and commands armies.
Right.
What other kind of king could the Magi have been recognizing?
Good question.
Yeah.
Maybe a king who rules with compassion and justice.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then there's frankincense, a fragrant resin used in worship.
Yeah.
This hints at Jesus' role as a priest,
Yes.
a mediator between God and humanity.
Like he's bridging the gap.
Precisely.
Okay.
And then we have myrrh, which is used in burial rituals.
Right.
It's a stark reminder, even at Jesus' birth, of the sacrifice he would eventually make.
Wow. So those seemingly simple gifts actually lay out the entire trajectory of his life.
Exactly.
From his kingship to his ultimate sacrifice.
But their visit wasn't without political intrigue.
Right.
King Herod, who ruled Judea at the time, felt threatened by this news of a newborn king.
Yeah, talk about someone feeling insecure.
Right.
A baby, seriously.
Herod's reaction reveals a lot about the nature of power. He was so consumed by his own authority that he saw this infant as a rival, a threat to his throne.
Right.
It reminds us that power can often be rooted in fear and insecurity.
And he was pretty ruthless in trying to eliminate that threat.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He tried to manipulate the Magi into leading him to Jesus, but they were divinely warned in a dream to avoid Herod on their way back. Wow.
This divine intervention is the first of many instances that highlight God's protective hand over Jesus.
Yeah, it's like a recurring theme, this constant interplay between danger and divine protection.
You're right. It's almost as if God is orchestrating events from behind the scenes.
Right.
Ensuring that Jesus is kept safe despite the very real threats against his life.
And that brings us to the escape to Egypt, right?
Right.
A frantic, middle-of-the-night flight to a foreign land.
Yes.
Can you imagine the fear and uncertainty Joseph and Mary must have felt?
It must have been a harrowing experience.
Yeah.
Imagine being awakened by an angel, told to flee for your life with a newborn baby.
And not just any trip.
Right.
But a journey that mirrors the Israelites' exodus from Egypt centuries earlier.
Exactly. This isn't just a random escape.
Right.
It's rich with symbolism.
I see.
The Israelites were freed from physical slavery in Egypt. What kind of Egypt could Jesus be escaping from here?
Interesting.
Wait.
Maybe a spiritual Egypt.
You're getting it.
The escape to Egypt foreshadows Jesus' ultimate mission to liberate humanity from the bondage of sin and death. He's reenacting the Exodus, but on a cosmic scale.
Wow, that adds a whole new dimension to the story. It's not just about a physical journey. It's about spiritual liberation.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And this connection is made even more explicit by the gospel writer Matthew.
Okay.
He quotes a passage from the prophet Hosea, "Out of Egypt I called my son."
Wow.
It's a direct link, emphasizing that Jesus is fulfilling God's ancient promises.
So they find refuge in Egypt, safe from Herod's grasp.
Yeah.
But back in Bethlehem, things take a dark turn.
Yes.
Herod, enraged by the Magi's disappearance, orders the unthinkable.
Yes, the massacre of the innocents.
Right.
A chilling act of brutality fueled by fear and a desperate attempt to hold on to power.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine the grief and despair those families must have experienced.
It's a truly heartbreaking event, and the gospel writer Matthew connects it to a powerful image from the Old Testament, Rachel weeping for her children.
Right.
It's a reminder of the deep sorrow and suffering woven into human history.
It's like this event echoes all the mothers who have lost children throughout history. Such a powerful image of grief and loss.
And it links this event to the historical exiles of the Jewish people, adding another layer of meaning.
Right.
It's as though this event foreshadows the suffering that Jesus himself will endure.
So while this terrible tragedy unfolds in Bethlehem, the Holy Family finds safety in Egypt.
Yeah.
But their time there isn't permanent, is it?
No, it's not.
Okay.
After Herod's death, an angel appears to Joseph in a dream, instructing him to return to Israel.
It's interesting how dreams play such a significant role in this narrative.
Right.
Almost like a direct line of communication.
Yeah, that's a great observation.
Between God and Joseph.
Dreams were often seen as a way God communicated with people in the Bible.
Right.
And in this case, the dreams provide clear guidance and protection. Yeah.
For the Holy Family.
So they head back to Israel, but there's another twist, right?
Right.
They don't go back to Bethlehem.
Right. Joseph, still fearing for Jesus' safety, receives another dream warning about Herod's son, Archelaus, who is now ruling Judea.
Right.
He's guided to settle in Galilee instead.
It makes you think about how God works in mysterious ways.
Yeah.
Even when things seem uncertain or even dangerous.
Right.
There's this guiding hand leading them to safety.
Exactly. Their journey takes them to Nazareth, a small, seemingly insignificant town in Galilee.
Right.
It wasn't a place of power or prestige, but it was where Jesus would spend his formative years.
And it fulfills that prophecy, right?
Yes.
The one that says Jesus would be called a Nazarene. It's like all these seemingly random events were actually part of a bigger plan all along.
Absolutely.
Wow.
It highlights the idea that even the smallest details of Jesus' life were part of a divine tapestry, woven together by prophecy and fulfillment. Yeah. We've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
From the arrival of the Magi to the escape to Egypt and the return to Nazareth.
It's amazing how each event is so intricately connected.
Yeah.
Building upon the previous one.
So, stepping back for a moment, what does all of this tell us about the early life of Jesus? What stands out to you?
What strikes me is the consistent theme of divine protection.
Okay.
From the star guiding the Magi to the dreams directing Joseph.
Right.
God's hand is evident throughout these events.
Yeah.
Even when faced with danger and uncertainty, Jesus is miraculously preserved.
You're right. It's like there's this constant reassurance that God is watching over Jesus, orchestrating events to ensure his safety and fulfill his destiny.
Yeah.
But it's not just about keeping him safe, is it?
Right.
It's also about preparing him for his future ministry.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Each event shapes his identity and points toward his ultimate purpose.
Right.
The visit of the Magi, with their symbolic gift, foreshadows his role as king, priest, and sacrifice.
Okay.
The escape to Egypt reinforces the theme of liberation and connects his story to the Exodus narrative.
Right.
And the return to Nazareth, guided by prophecy, prepares him for the ministry that awaits him.
It's like all these events, even the difficult ones, were shaping him for this incredible mission he was born to fulfill.
Exactly. And it makes you think, doesn't it?
Yeah.
If God was so intricately involved in Jesus's early life, orchestrating events and protecting him from harm, what does that tell us about how he might be working in our own lives?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
I mean, we may not have angels appearing to us in our dreams or stars guiding our paths.
Right.
But maybe there are subtler ways God is guiding and protecting us.
I think so. Perhaps those unexpected detours, those closed doors that lead to new opportunities, those moments where we feel a sense of peace amidst chaos.
Right.
Maybe those are glimpses of God's hand at work in our lives.
Yeah, it's kind of comforting to think that even when things seem uncertain or random, there might be a larger purpose unfolding.
Absolutely. And that's one of the key takeaways from these stories, I think.
Yeah.
They remind us that God often works through the unexpected in ways we might not initially understand.
So we shouldn't necessarily be looking for the big flashy miracles,
Right.
but rather paying attention to the smaller, seemingly insignificant events
Exactly.
that could be part of a bigger plan.
And just as those early events shaped Jesus' life and prepared him for his ministry, maybe the experiences we go through, both good and bad, are shaping us and preparing us for something greater as well.
Yeah, it's a thought-provoking idea. Instead of always asking, why is this happening to me? Maybe we should be asking, what is God trying to teach me through this?
I love that.
Yeah.
It shifts our perspective from being passive victims to active participants in our own spiritual journeys.
Yep.
And speaking of perspective, think about the Magi for a moment. They were willing to step outside of their comfort zones to embark on a long and uncertain journey, all because they were seeking something greater than themselves.
That's true. They were open to the unknown, to the possibility of something extraordinary.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder, are we as open to those possibilities in our own lives?
Right.
Are we willing to follow where God might be leading us?
Right.
Even if it takes us off the beaten path?
That's a challenge we all face, isn't it?
Yeah.
To trust in God's guidance, even when it doesn't make sense to us.
Right.
To embrace the unknown and allow ourselves to be led to places and experiences that might stretch us and challenge us.
And maybe even lead us to a deeper understanding of ourselves and our purpose in the world.
Precisely. So as we wrap up our deep dive into the early life of Jesus, I hope we've gained a fresh perspective on these familiar stories.
I know I have. It's amazing how events that happened over 2,000 years ago can still speak to us today. And I think the key takeaway for me is that even in the midst of uncertainty and danger, even when things don't go according to plan, God is at work, guiding us, protecting us, and shaping us for something greater than we can imagine.
Beautifully put. And perhaps as you go about your day, you might consider this. How do these stories from Jesus' early life challenge you to think differently about the way God works in the world?
Okay.
And how might they inspire you to embrace the unknown and trust in his guidance even when the path ahead seems uncertain?